You know, I'm not the biggest fan of simulators out there, nor do I fancy any anime malarkey or games aimed for the age range of 3 to 7, but you know what I do fancy? Drumroll please. A lovely street game. Street games on Roblox often consist of the usual. You get a gun, you find the nearest slenders and you start blasting away. And in my developed human brain, I think that is quite enjoyable. The thought of ruining minors' online dating on the Roblox platform while being dressed as an unidentified blob is my pastime pleasure. However, these days you're really limited on what you can play since Roblox has changed and so have the people on it. Your best options are games like The Hood, which is an exploiter's dreamland filled with children and nonces and weirdos who you would rather just not talk to be honest. The only upside of it though is the fact that it is incredibly popular, and every time you press that play button you're always greeted to a new bacon hair flying around the map. Another game that some people may think of when they think of streets is of course the Streets itself. This game is incredibly old if you're a new gen and was one of the games that I played back in the days with the boys on Skype, literally being around 10 years old at the time, but we moved. These days this game is like so dead that I can't even bring myself to play it just for content for the video. It's whatever though, because it's not the main topic of the video. What is the best Roblox game that you've never heard. Another drumroll please. Criminality. Before we get onto Criminality itself, I must cover the main developers who made it, Mr. RVVZ here, or how the Americans like to say, RVVZ. You've probably played a few of his older games in the past, and most notably The Rake, so yeah, that's him for you. Throughout this video though, I'll probably be referring to him as RVed, okay? Cool. Alongside with him is also another recognizable name going by Fox of July, who is a pretty known Roblox developer, and I'm pretty sure he focuses on animations and Blender stuff, which I don't really know, so I'm not going to try and talk about it in detail too much. Finally, there's Kratos, who is pretty much RVed 2 in terms of character, and he's a white hat for the game. If you don't know what that is, it's basically like hacking the game on purpose to see if there's any failures in the system, and then telling them like, hey yo, you need to fix this. He also does other data stuff I don't really know because they're so quiet and don't talk that much to the community, you know, it really helps. Moving on, as the description of the game suggests, it's a free-roam fighting game featuring punishing and unpredictable gameplay with advanced combat mechanics and extensive weaponry. You're in a blah 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 lore that never existed in the first place, and now you're here. Now the game is paid access, which is already a big cross to most of the people watching this video, but wait, you're not even getting into the good stuff. At the core of it, Criminality is what some have said the streets but better. I'm not even going to start to compare it to The Hood, so you can go away. All the street games, however different they may be, fit into some similar objective, if it can even be classified as one. It's a fighting game with no progression or real goal. This meant that players would often just hang around and socialize more than anything else, and that seemed like the real objective. Think of it as a vibe New York City condo apartment game kind of thing, except instead of online dating, you're just being a prick and occasionally ruining people's days. That isn't really the entire point of Criminality, but to sum it up short and sweetly, yes it is. In this street game though, there's actually some sort of progression, although it's not significant enough to separate it from the classic view of what it should be. You start off at a random location on the map with $10,000 on the left side of your screen and your fists. As usual, you start to run around the well-designed map, discovering and familiarizing yourself with the game like a newborn baby. The movement is quite different to normal Roblox games, so at first you might feel a bit weird. Your fists do minimal damage, but they still get the job done at least. There's also several settings you can open up below your cache to see what fits you personally. In specific, there's one called Debug, which lets you see the hitbox of any of your melees. Criminality uses a hit detection system called Raycast, which is pretty bloody accurate and also is pretty solid against any nasty hackers. You also have a bunch of stamina at the bottom of your screen, and if you get below 10% stamina, then you start to moonwalk. There's also a nice UI of your body as well, and this can indicate armor value, limb health, and even if you fractured anything. There's also a bunch of other stuff too that you can fiddle around with. If your computer's an absolute potato, you have a bunch of settings to increase your FPS, although if you can't run this game on one graphics already, then you might as well just give up. At the top right corner of your screen, you might have noticed a little backpack icon with the number 0 to 10. This is your inventory space. Every single item in the game has some sort of number space, indicating that you can't have 29 weapons at once. Simply put, the bigger the item, the more inventory space it takes. Most of the weapons in this game are free to use and unlock, and the occasional game passes are usually very underpowered and aren't game changing at all whatsoever. The most it will do is annoy you and then make you scream that the game is pay to win. However, there is a vital game pass called Armory for 450 rubles. This gives you access to a lot of guns that you can't buy unless you have the pass, which is quite bugging. But the guns in Armory all have some sort of balanced alternative at the free dealers. For example, you can say the MAC-10 is one for the MP7 and the UMP. Another example of this is the M4 and the AK. Truth be told, it is extremely helpful for you to have this game pass, and I would be blatantly lying if I said it didn't give an unfair advantage, because it does, so yeah, buy it. As I've said earlier, there is no actual progression to this like a story game, so I'm going to try and go a little bit off-road to the regular pyrocynical route. The money on your left side of your screen is actually your bank, meaning you can't just go to a weapon dealer and ask if he accepts card. You need to actually go to one of the ATMs around the map, withdraw some money so it's on your person, then purchase something. However, if you die while you have money on you that's labeled cash, then you drop 2/3 of it, which is bloody annoying when you're trying to farm or just generally have some money conveniently on you. This forces you to be careful and generally sneaky around the map, which is something I do like. What I don't like are the massive gangs, which I'll get to later. When you finally get to a dealer with cash, you're greeted to a menu consisting of a bunch of items. Melees, guns, armor, throwables, and other stuff such as bandages and lockpicks. Since you're a level 1 most likely, a bunch of the things are locked, meaning 1, you need to get some XP to level up, and 2, you need to find out how to get some XP. The worst thing you can possibly do at the start is spend all your money, since it's actually difficult in general just to rack up enough money to buy yourself a decent gun. So yeah, from an absolute base, you kill people. It doesn't matter how, you just do. Killing people gives you XP depending on their level and their bounty. You get bounty whenever you kill someone or assist in doing so. Over time, if you do this enough without dying miraculously, then you get an alert saying, hey look, kill me. Alongside getting the cash reward when you kill someone with a bounty, the XP you get also increases. This isn't the only way of getting XP, as you can literally do almost anything in the game and it will give you some, but killing is the main method. Now the other main thing in this game is if you've guessed cash. You can get cash in multiple ways. I'm gonna list it all since it's not actually that much. You can break open cash registers in places like illegal pizza and some places around the map. All it takes is your fist and 35% of your stamina. You can also use a crowbar, which you can buy from the dealer, but I don't know why you should. It literally does the same thing. However, small and big safes require a lockpick or 4 to 5 hits from the crowbar. Cash registers give around 100 to 200 cash depending on the size of the server. The small safes give 300 to 600 and the bigger ones are 500 to 1000. I forgot to mention, every 10 minutes you also get government benefits, which can keep you going sometimes, and if you want, there's a game pass that increases that by a little bit. You can buy cash, but it's extremely overpriced on purpose so that it doesn't become a fully pay to win game. Finally, you can also of course kill people, as I've mentioned for the 20th time. Now, the first time I played this game, I often use melee since guns have limited ammo and you find yourself going to dealers often to refill, which costs additional cash. With melees, however, you can use them as much as you want and without any additional fees. Not only that, but they're about 4 times cheaper on average, meaning that you won't have to spend your life savings every time and you can conserve stuff generally better. I'll be going through every single melee's greatest points and usages that you can find in the game now. Knives are standard and you can't block with them, nor do they have the greatest hitbox. However, they don't take up much inventory space, so you can easily just keep one in your back pocket. Plus, the smaller ones don't show up on your person, meaning you can hide weapons and sneak up on people. The major factor though is that you run at full speed while having it equipped, meaning you would run the same if you weren't holding anything. The bigger knives are weapons such as the Tiger and the military machete. You can actually block with these weapons, however not absolutely everything. Plus, if you manage to hit someone in the head enough, they instantly get killed from decapitation, which is awesome. There's some blunt weapons such as the wrench and the baton, which trade bleeding with stunning your opponent instead, which is preferable to some people. Next up are heavy weapons, and these are usually large blunt weapons which have a horizontal swing and a very large stun time. The downside is that you're slower when you're holding them and you take up a lot more stamina while swinging them. Finally, we have the high tier weapons such as the katana, chainsaw and the metal bat. The katana is literally if you combine a knife's properties with the swing of a heavy weapon. On top of this, you also run at max speed, which is awesome. The chainsaw is a looping damaging weapon where every tick of contact with someone causes damage. If you manage to properly hit someone, it can do some serious damage. Also, your raw energy is converted into the fuel used for it, so you don't have to worry about oil. The metal bat is a classic heavy blunt, but it does a lot of damage. It can fracture limbs very easily and can even break your neck if you manage to aim someone's head correctly. I haven't gone through everything, but that should generally cover up what melees are in store in the game and what you can expect in the future updates. Along with this, there's also a combo system which basically lights up every time you successfully hit someone. If you manage to hit them 2 times in a row, then you can unlock the third swing, which pretty much does a lot more damage. It's different across every weapon. For example, the knives do more bleeding and damage, but for weapons like the katana, it can one-shot headshot while doing a literal 360 spin, which is like, what the hell. That should pretty much showcase everything about the melees, and if you're still not satisfied, then you can always check the stats for yourself or just go to the wiki. Now, the guns in this game are quite controversial across the community, to say the least. There's so many metas, do's and don'ts that it would literally take me 20 minutes just to go over absolutely everything. But guess what, I'm still gonna do it. The sawn-off is like an Ioka but slightly less primal, and it shares the same oh fuck if it works and you're dead. The Beretta is not worth the price, you're better off just finding it. And at the unlucky chance that you get it, it's a BB gun, please hit every shot if you want to live. The Glock 17 is a solid fucking weapon. 14 bullets and 9mm with very controllable recoil and solid fire rate, probably the only gun I actually rate. The Tech 9 is the Beretta's older brother, like that's it. The M1911 is shit. The Deagle is a solid big caliber big dick gun. The Uzi is a fake rifle. The Ithaka is a meaty shotgun, and if you meet someone using this, your best option is to simply just run away. The Tommy gun is a BB machine gun. The AKS-74U is an automatic Glock. The Mare is a sniper in a streets game. Yes, I really just said those two together. The AKM is like the AKS's big brother and also comes with a fancy laser on the side. And finally, the RPG, like an RPG in a street game. Yeah. There's more weapons in the armory, but I'm going to go off the assumption that most of you watching this won't buy it, so I won't cover it. The armor in this game is modeled by a modeler named Tells, who I'm actually pretty decent friends with. He's also responsible for modeling a few bits and bobs around the map, alongside the entire collection of guns. You can check out more of his stuff on his profile, and yeah, there's not much more needed. There's 3 tiers of armor, of which both have a vest and a helmet. The higher the tier, the more protection they give to pretty much everything that you can possibly take damage from in this game. Tier 1 is quite light, but it is a massive difference to if you didn't have any armor on. Tier 2 starts to obscure your vision and you start breathing like you're in a sword trap. Finally, tier 3 is literally Tachanka, and I don't think I really need any other description. People often actually opt out of buying armor since mobility is actually a very important factor in this game. I'm not going to really talk about throwables except from the healing in this game consists of 3 simple items: the splint, the bandage, and the medkit. The bandage is general stuff using the common wrap around your hand to fix internal bleeding tactic, which is a thumbs up from me. The splint is specifically for if you've been feeling slightly clumsy recently and you want to stop your fractured bones from being fractured. I also like how it's just an orangey bandage and resembles nothing to a splint, but you know what, I fuck with it. The medkit is a combination of both, being the you open absolutely nothing and again fix internal bleeding alongside maybe some broken bones and possibly a shattered tooth. Besides from the few minor points that I haven't really covered, that's pretty much about everything in the shop section. Map, primarily made by Sinsmoke and Arved, is quite a memorable design, and even for first time players you'll get used to it very quickly. There's many vantage points and areas you can loot, which is my next point. There's things called scrap which lie around the map, pretty much giving you almost every single item in the game you can think of. Knives, grenades, shovels, golf clubs, machine guns, C4, the list is huge. There's 3 types of scrap in the game, going from white, green, and then red. Red being the highest tier of scrap and rarest. You'll get the best loot from that. This scrap can be really useful if you're eating from the soup bank, and you can get pretty expensive weaponry, but it's pretty luck based. Every game has some kind of negative aspects, am I right? Criminality is one of the most debated games on a player to shit talk ratio, averaging around like 1,000 players on a weekend and then around 3,000 of them constantly overviewing it as a bad game.
Garbage, fuck you, garbage.
Why is this? This video would be propaganda if I want to cover these points, so I'll do so now. Criminality breathes, lives, and survives off toxicity. Out of playing in the worst Roblox communities in the past 5 years, I can safely say that Criminality is pretty high up there. In all aspects is the game toxic. Players are vastly more unfriendly than otherwise, and you'll always get a few words thrown at you, regardless of what you do.
You're so free! You're shit!
The gameplay is naturally toxic since the street-based value of it, if anything, promotes and encourages this kind of behavior. So before you buy this game, I must stress the fact that it's incredibly difficult and toxic. You won't enjoy the game if you just play the hood and adopt me. The only thing that saves us from being a complete shithole is one of the things that I said at the beginning of the video. Socializing with players and fucking around is honestly the best thing to do on here, and that's what I enjoyed the most outright. When you try and play the game how it's supposed to be played, you often leave it feeling nothing but negative emotion and attitude. I don't know why, it just does really. You have too much at stake, holding a gun that took you 15 minutes of your precious hard work farming, and being in constant fear that you'll die to something stupid. That, alongside the constant toxicity, is the worst combination I've actually ever experienced on Roblox. I hate it, it's such a well-made game, but the metas and the way it's been curated just comes out as a massive failure. I wish Arved could listen more to his community and try and create the game in a way that it can be separated or sorted with. It's not easy, but again, it is his responsibility. Despite this, I still enjoy the game to this day. I still enjoy making videos about it. I enjoy talking to fans, playing with fans, fucking around, and doing whatever I like. I like talking to the moderators on this game. Finding new things every day and having a constant urge to play. If you want to have an extremely great time on here, I suggest you play with friends at least. The sense of new challenge and competition is always looming over the game, even though there's no leaderboard or rush to do anything. I wouldn't call this the best game on Roblox, but I would genuinely call it the best game you've never heard. Uniqueness and posing an actual challenge is extremely rare on this shit platform. I hope Arved and his team of developers can strive farther in the future to make Criminality even better than it already is, and I can't wait for it. If you want to talk to me about absolutely anything, then join in my Discord in the description. I'm banned from the Criminality Discord since I said one too many unkind things, and you can ask me anything, just don't say anything stupid. Again, I'd like to give a thanks to Pyrocynical for being the sole influencer for this video, and also make sure to subscribe, it's free and you can always change your mind. Yeah!